Elkins presents the Elkins Accounting Hour with your host, Chad Elkins.
And we're live. Happy Wednesday, y'all. Didn't mean to start late here. We had a bit of you can see I'm kind of messing with the lighting in here because I'm trying to make it look all cool, but that's really hard to do. And the candidate got home only about 10 minutes ago, so she was in here like helping me with it. So if you wouldn't mind, let me know how my audio is, because I don't have anybody here in the stream with me. I sent Clary the link. He said he might pop in, but I don't think he's going to. I think he might be having some problems or something, but I don't know if we'll see him. But first thing is first, I've never had this one. This is called 6 Point Brewery, which is based in Brooklyn. It's Stupor Hazy IPA, 6.4 ABV. Yeah, it's a little... Never had it. Yeah, I don't know about the lights either. Project gone, but oh well. Yeah, homeschool time. We'll see if he actually does pop in. Oh, John Watts, what's up? I see Chase. Man, a lot of cool dudes in here. Torgo, the real Uncle Hector was here. All right, let's see. No, Torgo, that's not the candidate's voice. Tax Time Forever made that for me. All right, let's see how this one is. I drank a lot of IPAs last night, so yeah, this one, I'm hoping it goes down smooth. It's good. It actually, they describe it as citrusy. I don't know. It doesn't taste that citrusy to me, but it's pretty damn good. Anyway, cheers, you guys. Hope you're having a good week so far. So I got kind of a good show tonight because, all I've been doing is talking about H&R Block for the last few weeks and even before this. And so obviously H&R is the leading in-person big box outlet, retailer. But then I got to thinking I need to talk about TurboTax a little bit because that seems to be the leading self-preparation program. So I found a very interesting article yesterday about what's been going on with Intuit, and Intuit owns they're the company that has QuickBooks and TurboTax. So in a way, they're kind of the evil empire, but they have some interesting stuff going on. And just to give you a bit of a preview, those of us in here, if any of you are fellow tax pros watching this, they're coming after us, and they're coming after us hard. TurboTax is, they're trying to step on our turf, but there's some good news, and I'll get to that. Just want to take a quick look who else is in here. Ray John, haven't seen you in a while. John Watts, Real Uncle Hector, Xenophobe 2006. Good stuff. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but most people in here do not like sports ball. I get that, it's not part of the whole red pill deal, sports ball. But I'm really, really getting into the NHL playoffs because that is like, my team is Dallas Stars. And for once, they're not like totally disappointing. And it's been real fun. It's not all good because the candidate is kind of sick of me watching hockey every other night. And I get that because here in Texas, they don't really do ice hockey that much. It's football, American football, Cowboys. One thing that's kind of crazy is that, so in the DFW area, there's four major professional sports teams. Obviously, there's the Dallas Cowboys, Texas Rangers, Dallas Mavericks, and the Dallas Stars. So if any of you are paying attention, the Rangers won the World Series last fall. The Dallas Mavericks, the NBA team, is like one win away from going to the NBA Finals. And then you got my Dallas Stars that are 2 wins away from going to the Stanley Cup Finals. So you got all these three teams that, frankly, a lot of people don't really care all that much about, even though they're actually winning. And then the one team that's like pathetic that never wins anything, which is the Dallas Cowboys. That's who everybody cares about down here. So I just think it's really funny how like the Cowboys are perpetually more popular than like every other team here, and they still can't get their shit together. Mm. Yeah, this is good. It doesn't taste like it's 6.4%. John, yeah, it's like what's more boring? Is it sports ball or accounting? You know, one could make a guess about that one. Cowboys equals most overrated sports franchise. Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. And I like the Cowboys. I mean, I always joke about how much the Bears suck, but the Cowboys, I mean, they're just perpetually underperforming. And they need a new quarterback if anybody else is paying attention to them. Um, so that's really what I've been doing. And before I get to what I wanted to talk about, there's been some other funny stuff that's gone on in the last probably say about the last week and a half, and this is sort of tied into what I'm going to talk about tonight. Um, I've been getting a lot of people that have been finding my name online, I guess through my website or maybe even my YouTube channel. I don't know. But I've been getting a lot of emails from people that are basically all saying the same thing. They're like, I just got this notice from the IRS and it says that I owe, $2,000 or, even if it's just like $500, you're getting these panicky people. See, when tax season ends is when the IRS starts sending out all these CP 2000 notices. And CP 2000 notices basically mean they're computer generated, like no human is looking at it. It means the IRS's computer has caught a discrepancy between what you put on your tax return and what they have on their end based on paperwork they received. And so these will be automatically mailed out, and it'll say you forgot to report this, you owe X amount, and usually there's some penalties and interest. Now, I'm sure you guys know if there's ever one of these discrepancies in your favor, is the IRS ever going to actually send out a notice and give you money? No, that's not really what happens. But nothing else, that should tell you how the government works. They're quick to catch you when you owe, but they're not honest enough to say you deserve a refund based on a discrepancy. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, got all these people that have been emailing me this week, and so the notices are going out, and most of them need amendments because it seems to be because a lot of these are because they're not reporting stock transactions correctly. Like they get their brokerage statement and they didn't know that they're supposed to actually enter these in, whether there's capital gains or capital losses. And the IRS computers, they're actually pretty dishonest because they'll only recognize the amount that you sold. Okay, so let's say that somebody sold a stock for $10,000. Let's just say it's Apple. They sold a stock of Apple for $10,000, but their basis, meaning what they paid to get the stock, we'll just say it was $9,000. So they would only owe capital gains based on that $1,000 difference. And capital gains are almost always 15%. So they'd owe $150 to the IRS. No big deal. But what the IRS does when they send these notices is they'll recognize the sale of the stock. So they'll say, well, you received $10,000 for the sale of the Apple stock, but they won't give you credit for the basis. So instead of owing, $150 based on 15%, $1,000 capital gain, they'll just say you owe, like, let's say $2,200 based on the ordinary income of the $10,000 sale. I'm assuming these are long-term, by the way, not to get too technical. So basically all week, these people have been getting these, well, even some last week, were getting these CP 2000 notices saying they owe all this money. And when you do that, you don't necessarily have to create an amended return for them to fix it. But it's really in your best interest because even though the notice says, oh, tell us if you don't agree with us, tell us why we're wrong and, send out any supporting documentation. You can do that. But at least in my experiences, based on how slow they are, you're better off just filing an amended return and putting the basis in there, in this example. So long and short of it, I'm getting a lot of people that want me or some other tax professional to fix this, these notices that they're getting. And all I gotta say is I really don't feel like doing that type of shit because it's kind of annoying. I mean, you can make money doing it, but you have to recreate the random person's originally filed tax return, in your software program. And then once you do that, which takes a lot of time, then you have to do the amendment, and it's just kind of a hassle. So I've just been giving Japanese refusals for these things. I'm like, oh, I'll do it for $800. And I almost never hear back from the people that I say this to because they're obviously emailing a bunch of other CPAs or EAs, and they need somebody to help them with this because they don't know how to do it themselves. But the reason I'm telling this story is that it is I want y'all to keep that in mind because it's going to play into what I'm about to talk about regarding TurboTax tonight. So, mm. And the other thing I wanted to mention before I get started with all this is that TurboTax, I don't know how much I've talked about this. Back in tax season 2016, so over 8 years ago, I actually I did some consulting with Intuit because I wasn't fully established in my own practice. So I had a little bit of time and I got hit up by them. They're like, do you want to be a seasonal tax pro? And I'll talk about that in a second. And I was like, well, I'm not really interested. And they're like, will you at least sign up for this, task force involving how user friendly the program was to use? Again, this was back in 2016. And so I took the time to analyze the program. I tried to act like I had rental property. I acted like I had a business, a Schedule C, sole proprietorship. They had all these scenarios that they wanted me to walk through and see how easy it was to really navigate. And that program had a lot of problems, especially with respect to depreciation on rental property. Like it just could not do that correctly. And if like a seasoned tax professional is having trouble, if navigating it, getting the program to do what you want it to do, how's your everyday, like, Tom, Dick, and Harry supposed to be able to figure that out? And so I made all these after that tax season. So it was like in late April, early May. They wanted us to write a report of our findings. And so I wrote up this big report. I'm like, well, you made this really hard, and XYZ, depreciation's off, depreciation recapture doesn't make sense. And I basically gave them all the recommendations that I thought they needed to do to fix the program. And I obviously wasn't the only person. They hired all kinds of pros for this. But then when I examined the program in the subsequent, it was probably the next 2 or 3 years after that, because Intuit lets you have the program for free, for the next few years. Even if you're not using it, they still want you to work with it. They did not make any of my recommendations happen. Like they basically changed nothing. And so I don't think Intuit or TurboTax gives a damn if you mess up your return. Mm. And let's just say, well, for those of you, you know what? Let me ask you all this. Let's see. There's 41 people in here. Don't be shy if you're able to. Will you please press 1 in the comments if you either use TurboTax now or you've used it in the past? Like there's no judgment. I just want to get a feel for how many people use it. Because a lot of people, if they're self-preparing, they're probably using TurboTax. Like there's a few substitutes like Tax Act. Even H&R actually has their own version of self-preparation software. Wow, so you guys, oh, of course, this one, yeah, I know. Atham. Let me know if you want on, Atham. I'm just chilling. Homeschool time. What are the 0? Okay, 0 means you don't use it. Wow, there's a lot more 1s than I thought there would be. No, there's no judgment here because, like I'm going to talk about, it probably is the best program for those that are planning to prepare their own taxes. So I'm not criticizing. I just think it could be better. And wait till you hear what they're trying to do now. Mm. Yeah, that's okay, Atham. By the way, so I'm visiting Atham in, what is it, 3 weeks from today. I'm flying over there. We're going to hang out. Clary's going to join us towards the end of it. This is out in Reno, so I'm kind of excited about that. You're always talking about the 93-year-old tax accountant, Torgo. I don't know why that that person needs to retire. I don't know if they can keep up with all the changes. Parker, what's up, dude? Good to see you. We got a stoic CPA in here. Used TurboTax back in '88 as a new CPA. Yeah. So like I'm saying, I don't want, as I'm talking about this, don't take this as me criticizing the program, but I'm going to read an article that talks about what they're basically targeting at this point, and I'm going to have some thoughts on that. Oh, Goatman 1776 going to be a revenue agent. Wish me luck. Good luck, man. I'll tell you what, Goatman, because I'm always wanting to hear what it's like to become a revenue agent for the IRS. If you wouldn't mind, email me an update after you've been there for a little while, because we do have Harvey Polinsky that occasionally stops by. But otherwise, I don't know any revenue agents that are with the service right now. And I'd really like to know what it's like, because I think it's a viable track for people who want to get into this industry. And, they either have a CPA or an EA. I do think you need a college degree to be a revenue agent. But yeah, keep in touch with me if you wouldn't mind, Goatman. So before I get to the article, I just want to, there was one more. Oh, Pi for $1.99. Shut up and take my money. Make the damn course. You know what? I'm glad you're bringing that up, Pi, because I got to tell you about what happened. It was either yesterday or Monday. I think it was yesterday. Soon. So what happened was Clary, Clary's been great because he's the one that pushed me to do this channel. For a long time, he was like, I think people really want to hear about getting into the field and what it's like. And so much to his credit, he convinced me to do this channel, and it's actually worked out pretty well. At least I think it has. I think we're helping people, and I really enjoy doing it. For me, it's like a break from, tax prep and all that. But as you guys know, he's been on me about making a course. Okay. And I'm just gonna come clean with you guys. I just haven't had the motivation to do it, because when busy season, like, as those of you who have gone through it know, it's such a grind, the first 3.5 to 4 months out of every year, that when it's over, you don't really want to do anything. Like, you'll do some tangential work here and there, like I'm doing, but just to be straight with y'all, I just have not been motivated to do it. And so Clary called me over the weekend, and he was like, I've got a slow period right now. I want you to make an outline, for the course. And we discussed some ideas. And I don't know what to tell you guys. I got to the weekend and I was having fun socializing, the candidate and I had plans. I just couldn't force myself to sit down there and make the course, not even an outline for it. I just couldn't make myself do it. So here's what's going to happen. Clary's going to be the one that takes hold of the course, because he was like, well, can I, go after it then? And I said, yes, you go after it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of be a consultant, like a guide. I'm going to work with Clary to put together the course, but it's not going to be something that I do on my own, because just again, keeping it real with you guys, I just wasn't interested in doing it. I don't mind when people email me questions and then we can hop on a consultation or something like a Zoom. I charge for them, but not that much. I really enjoy doing that. And there's the whole element of like, if you do a course, you can make money while you sleep and everything. And that's true. But without getting into it, I already do have a fair amount of passive income that I don't really feel like I need to do this work, in all honesty. So, I've told you guys I have a rental property out in Hawaii, and I've got a referral system. I've got some other things. So, yeah. So for those of you asking for the course, I'm not going to make the course. However, Clary is an expert about making these courses, so it's going to be much better with him taking the lead on it. And like I said, I'm going to work with him to get the material and the knowledge that I have, and he's going to put it together. So, you can keep making the "when are you making a course" jokes, but I figure I should say something about that, because I'm not going to do it. I'm sure my name, hopefully Clary will put my name on it, but it's not going to be me. So Don't mean to disappoint you guys, but I'm always available for one-off consultations. So just email me if you want to talk through anything. Mm. Yeah, Stoic CPA, I agree. As a seasoned tax preparer, I work really hard for about 100 days and then I don't work for the rest of the year. I'm kind of the same way, but my fall actually picks up a little bit because I did have to file a lot of extensions this year, particularly for the S corp. So I'll be busy in September and half of October, but yeah, the hard part is done. And Filipino working at CVS, hit me up with an email if you really do want to crash there. I'll give you the details. Parker, GF just got here, so I'm leaving you. Oh, come on, Parker. What happened to bros before hoes? Yeah, so I get you. Parker, we still need to chat because I wanted to show you a few things. He had been emailing me about a few things. So I'm reading the chat. Interesting. So the IRS is hiring in mass right now. Well, I knew that. Like I knew they were on a hiring spree. I just didn't know how quickly they were moving with this. But I want to say it for the record. There's nothing wrong with working for the IRS if you want to get experience, because at that point it gives you, a stable job with good benefits, and then it's really up to you if you want to stay with the IRS or if you want to go out, start your own practice, or even work in private industry. And you're going to have all that knowledge about what the IRS looks for and how they audit things. I mean, that's what I did. I worked for the government in my 20s, and now I'm just doing my own thing. So anyway, that's everything that's going on with me. I'm continuing to get those requests to help people with those CP 2000 notices. Not everybody's going to take a Japanese refusal. Like I like the idea of it, but it's not something that's always going to come to fruition. But you know what? I don't care because I'm enjoying the off season right now and drinking these hazy IPAs. Geez, I'm going to need another one soon. So let's get to the material here. It looks like a lot of you guys do use TurboTax, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. I found this really interesting article, and I think I'm going to share my screen for this one because I want you all to sort of follow along with me. So give me just 1 second here. Let's see. Okay. This article is from Fortune. See if I can share the screen. Okay, there it is. Share. Hopefully you guys can see this. It's an article from Fortune. It came out earlier this week, May 24th. What was that, Saturday? And it says it's by Bloomberg. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know what that means because I did try to find the actual author so I could give them credit. But every time I went to Bloomberg, I couldn't find anything. So I found it on Fortune, but it's, from Bloomberg's the one who actually put it together. As you can see, the title is TurboTax lost 1 million customers just when the IRS introduced its own free tax filing option and its stock is plummeting. Okay. Just a quick plug. I did a stream about how the IRS was going to implement its own free tax filing software. That was way back in September of 2022. And I actually linked that in the description here. And I went back and reviewed it earlier because I wanted to see if my predictions were true about how it would turn out. And it turns out it seems to be working pretty well. So I was a bit off because I was just saying how the government could never produce a reliable tax prep program, but at least the early reports are that it was somewhat of a success. Like they just rolled it out in January. But anyway, I'll get to the article here. Intuit Incorporated shares fell the most in more than 18 months after the company reported losing 1 million customers who use its TurboTax services for free. Okay, you hear that? TurboTax services for free, stoking concerns about the demand for the software. 10 million people used TurboTax for free this year to file their taxes, a drop of about 1 million from a year ago, the Mountain View, California-based software developer said. It also lost market share with low-paying customers. Okay, or low-paying customers. Again, keep these terms in mind. The shares dropped as much as 9.3% to $600.49 Friday in New York, the biggest intraday decline since November of 2022. The stock had gained 6% this year through Thursday's close. Intuit has been working to cater its, pay attention to this part. Intuit has been working to cater its TurboTax software to those with more complicated tax situations, betting on the idea that those particular customers could use online assistance from experts. The company has also marketed more artificial intelligence features in its product. Okay. Did you guys happen to catch that? Let me highlight that here. They're betting on the idea that those particular customers could use online assistance from experts. Okay. I want y'all to think about, I'm pausing the article for a second. What experts what experts work for Intuit TurboTax during tax season? I want to see if you have any thoughts before I share with you who these experts really are. Because remember, I consulted with these guys 8 years ago, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed. And I had to work with these so-called experts for a lot of things. So I'll give it a minute in case anybody wants to make a guess as to who the experts that are working at TurboTax are. None. They are not experts. Filipino. No, it's actually not offshoring. There's a very low amount of experts. So I want y'all, let me take y'all through a thought experiment here. Let's say that you are a CPA or you're an EA and you have all kinds of experience working in, for CPA firms, for tax prep firms. Like, let's just say that you really know your stuff. You are an industry expert. Why would you work at a place like TurboTax? And I'm going to give you all a hint. They're only paying, and this was 2016, but it's probably the same. They only pay these experts $25 an hour. $25 an hour to be a CPA expert. Okay. A lot of y'all are kind of nailing it. Yes, they're outsourcing it. That's one thing that they're trying to do. So what these experts, it's basically a call center. And yeah, you do get these folks that are abroad and they're supposed to try to solve this for you. So that's one thing. You know what the other part of the experts are? You guys might get this. So offshoring is one thing. Think closer here in the US. Who's going to work as an expert for $25 for Intuit during tax season? It's here in the US, not outsourcing. I'll give you all another guess or a little more time to see if you can guess who this is. This is not speculation, by the way. This is actually, I observed this. So, prisoners. By the way, John, you did finally get your CPA, right? I think you emailed me about that, or you told me. He had some, the state he's in kind of were dragging their feet a little bit with that. So this is who does it. He got it. You got it. One man army 617 got it. It's boomers. Okay. It's boomers who have already retired. Okay. So it's people that really don't give a shit. They're probably not even like keeping up with the changing laws and regulations. You have guys that are probably 65 years old and up who just want something to do, who have exactly zero motivation to stay on top of this industry. So they're getting paid $25 an hour in case, Sanjeev or Rupesh or whatever overseas, in case they can't handle these expert needs by people, they go to these boomers. And so I know I went on a tangent here, but this article saying that Intuit's trying to cater the software to those with more complicated tax situations, and they're trying to market it by getting online assistance from experts. Those are your experts. So just in case you think they actually have legitimate folks that are working there as experts, that's what's going on. And just think about this. If you're a legitimately valuable CPA or an EA, or just if you're worth your salt, you would never, end up working at TurboTax over tax season. It just isn't happening. So that's all I have to say about that. So anyway, oh, and by the way, that AI comment, did you catch that? Where it said the company has also marketed more artificial intelligence features in its products. That's a mess. That's still not working out. And I think that that's actually a big reason why like the people trying to self-prepare are doing it wrong, because AI is capturing things that it's probably not supposed to capture. I digress. Anyway, let me continue on with this article here. Let's see, where were we? Despite the loss in free customers, there are signs that Intuit's investments are paying off. The average user of TurboTax is spending 10% more on their filing this year compared to a year ago, according to the company. Fiscal third quarter revenue increased 12% to $6.74 billion, surpassing the $6.64 billion average of the analysts' estimates. Now, I want you to make a note of that too, how they're making more money, because I'm going to explain to you why this is happening, and y'all probably can even guess it. So let's see. Scroll down here. The period that ended April 30th, including tax season, is the most critical for the maker of TurboTax and other financial software. Profit, excluding some items, was $9.88 per share, beating Wall Street's expectations. So despite them losing a million customers, they're making more money. During an earnings call after the results were released, company executives were asked about the cause and implications of the user decline. Keith Weiss, an analyst at Morgan Stanley, asked why Intuit can't use TurboTax to appeal to the high end and the low end of the market. See, that's what they've been trying to do. They've been trying to like apply to everybody, whether it's just free filers, and then those who have more complex situations. So the analyst is saying, well, why can't you keep doing that? And to continue on, competition for those lower paying and free customer raises, quote, questions that could concern investors, wrote Raimo Lenzschau, an analyst at Barclays. Now listen to what the CEO said about this. Chief Executive Officer Sasan Goodarzi shrugged off the importance of the free customer base. Some people are, quote, just looking for a free tax software, bouncing between platforms, and we are not interested in pursuing those customers, end quote, he said. Goodarzi also highlighted that TurboTax gained share among people who traditionally, listen to this, TurboTax has gained share among people who traditionally have hired an accountant to handle their tax returns. So you see, they are now moving away from the free filers, and now they're going after our clients, our customers, tax pros. Now, I think I'm going to stop again here. There's only a little bit more in the article. I think this is where things are getting a lot more interesting for TurboTax, because ever since its inception, TurboTax has always tried really hard to draw on the low fee or the no fee customers. Okay, they always wanted to bring in the people who basically, like the CEO said, just wanted to use a free tax prep program. Okay, you probably saw those commercials where they were awful. I think it was last tax season, where they're like free. You know, they're stupid, they're obnoxious. I want to, before I go on, why do you think it was initially beneficial for TurboTax to go off to target clients that weren't going to pay for their software? Like, what was in it for them? I want to see if you guys can get this. There's a couple of reasons. Man, I'm going to need another beer soon. I'm drinking this fast. I'll let y'all guess. It's hot in here. Homeschool time, data. See, what they would do is they would take the customer's data and they would sell it to other marketing companies or whatever. So even though it's free, they're getting all their information about these people and selling it and selling their information, their demographic information. So that's one thing that was in it for them. But there's another thing that I wanted to mention. Yes, loss leaders. They just get their info. And the other thing is, now think about this. I guess I'm giving it away with this hint, but you guys really think that everybody who thinks that they're getting a free filing from TurboTax, do you think it actually ends up being free 100% of the time? Like, do you really think that happens? No, no. Most of the time, people think that they're going to file for free. If you have anything other than like a W-2 or like maybe a 1099 interest statement, like you could have like a $2 dividend from whatever, maybe your grandma gave you some dividends and it pays like nothing every year. Like I have a few clients where Kellogg's will just give them $3 per year and you have to record it. It's not free for things like 1099s. It's never free. And they'll do things like free federal and paid state. You got it, Filipino. You see, it's free if you live in a state that doesn't have an income tax. Oh, do they? So they now charge for 1099 INTs? Man, I didn't know that. So basically, I mean, I agree with what the CEO said. They're just kind of like anybody who's actually going to use this for free is probably not somebody we want to target anyway. Because there's probably less money for them to steal data now that everybody's like, AI can steal your data. There's of course Google and all that, Alexa stealing your data. So there's not as much money for TurboTax to basically have these people that don't pay them for the software. It's not as lucrative for them anymore. So I just think it's really interesting that they've admitted it, they're now shifting their strategy to enter our turf, tax preparers. And when I finish this article, I'm going to go into a little bit more what's happening here and how that's going to impact those of us who are in the industry. And I know some of you watching this, even live, are in the same industry. You're a tax pro like me. Let me go ahead and just finish this. So back to the article. Some of those departing customers may have opted for an Internal Revenue Service run pilot for free tax software that was available in a limited number of states this tax season and used by about 140,000 people. Intuit, get this part, they're such asses. Intuit has long lobbied against efforts by the government to offer software for people to complete their tax returns online, calling it unnecessary because private companies already offer it for free. But you see, they don't. These private companies don't offer it for free because all it takes is one 1099 INT and it ain't for free anymore. It might be free if you have one W-2 and you live in Texas, but if you live in Oklahoma and you have like $5 in interest and you have to do a state tax return, it's not free. So you're such scumbags, aren't they? But anyway, so the thought was that this free government program was cutting into Intuit's customer base. But the thing is, that's not, I admit, I don't really understand why this is harming their stock and why they're saying, well, they lost 1 million customers, because all they did was lose 1 million customers who are simply filing it for free someplace else. And that's the government program. So let me just finish this up right here. Intuit this is funny because usually they'll lie about stuff like this, but in this case, I think they're telling the truth. Intuit doesn't view the free government program tax filing pilot as a contributing factor in the decline, a spokesperson said. Yeah, if anything, it's helping them. Finishing up here, investors may have also wanted to see stronger results from Intuit's business-oriented products, such as QuickBooks Accounting, said Niraj Patel, an analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. Sales from the unit containing QuickBooks, which is aimed at small businesses and self-employed users, increased 18% to $2.4 billion, were roughly in line with average estimates. We'll finish it up here. So we did that. For the current quarter, total revenue will be about $3.1 billion, ahead of analysts' estimates. Profit, excluding some items, will be $1.80 to $1.85 a share in the period ending in July, also beating Wall Street's outlook. The rest of this doesn't mean anything. They're just talking about like how Credit Karma, which is under Intuit, got a new CEO. But just scrolling to the top here, when I first saw this title, right? When I saw, oh, TurboTax lost 1 million customers, they're screwed. Their stock's going down. TurboTax is the ding dong, the big bad wolf is dead, and all that. That's not what's happening. They've shifted their strategy, and they're coming after our customers. You guys, they're trying to get on our territory. So I'm going to take a minute to get another beer. But if any of you have any ideas about what are the implications of this for those of us in the industry? So we've got what was traditionally a self-preparing tax program trying to get other people who are using us to use them instead to self-prepare. What do you guys think about this? And then I'll give you my thoughts. I do need to get another beer, so I will be right back. It's funny when I went to go get the beer, and yes, it's another maple cookie. You guys know about how much I adore these. Candidate's on the phone with one of her friends and she had it on speaker. This friend is clearly going through some kind of breakdown because I could hear her on the phone, and I'm just like, holy shit. So poor Candidate's got to be her sounding board. Anyway, I'll read the comments in a second. Some of you, the ones I saw, you're getting it. Like, at first, I mean, our initial reaction, when you hear that this giant, behemoth of Intuit or whatever, because then they are a giant. I mean, they're massive. Your knee-jerk reaction when you hear that they're gunning for our clients is maybe to worry. You're like, oh no, they're going to try to attract clients that we would have. They're going to go after us, and they're so good at marketing. And I'll give them credit. They know how to market. I mean, they get all kinds of suckers to use them thinking that they're going to be using the program for free. And like I said, that never happens. So here are my thoughts on this. Hold on, let me pull up my notes. Okay. Some of you in the chat are getting it. And so basically, what they're trying to do is people who are smart enough to use a tax pro and not self-prepare, that this is a certain market, because you do get people who are so do it yourself and they think they know everything. I think the term is it called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where just because you're an expert at one thing, you think you're smart in other areas. And I think this applies to taxation very heavily. Like, you could have, for instance, a doctor who's a brilliant, I don't know, OBGYN or something. So they're really smart. And so they try to prepare their own taxes, if they have their own practice, because they think they're smart enough to do it. And yeah, know-it-alls. So I think what TurboTax is trying to do is to lure in people like this, know-it-alls, people who think they can do it on their own. Ooh. But another reason why I think TurboTax has shifted to this strategy is because now correct me if I'm wrong about this, because this is just my opinion, but I would like you guys to correct me if I'm wrong. Has the economy not really become a huge like gig economy recently? When I think about things like Uber and DoorDash and Instacart and, it sort of feels like we're in a gig economy. I don't know if that was because of COVID or, maybe it was already trending that way before COVID, but there was such an uptick of not just my clients, but everybody else basically getting 1099s because of little side jobs that they do. And I think that TurboTax is, and by the way, I talked about this in a previous stream, but the IRS is going to be requiring a lot more 1099s for 2024. It was actually supposed to happen for 2023, but now any transaction above $600, you get a 1099 for. It doesn't matter what it is, like payment processors, PayPal, that type of thing. So anyway, it's become such a gig economy, and I think TurboTax knows that. So they're trying to capture these people that suddenly don't just have a W-2. Now they're getting 1099s, and you have to deal with those 1099s, whether it's on Schedule C or whatever. So I think that's one reason that they're shifting. I think this free tax filing marketing program of theirs has become out of date. I think because a lot of people, not just because they can file directly with the IRS, but it's because of reasons like we were talking about. Like I think people are finally catching on that you can't ever really file for free with TurboTax. Now, there may be other programs where you can file for free. I've heard some things about Tax Act. I don't know. You guys might know more about this than I would, but TurboTax, I think, is recognizing that the time is now, that it's just everybody's their own boss at this point, or they're becoming their own boss. And then the other thing, and again, I want your theories on this in the chat if you have any. I think that Intuit and TurboTax are actually aware of the tax pro shortage in the industry. So they want a piece of that pie. They saw how like everybody this past tax season who needed a pro, who tried to find one during tax season, was not able to get one just because of the shortage. So I think they've caught on to that. So they're far less interested in just getting data from these quote free tax filers or people, or trying to sucker these people thinking they'll get a free program and then saying, oh, you live in an income tax state, you have to pay, I don't know, $29.99 per state. So it's clear to me that they recognize the shortage and they're trying to take advantage of it. So here's the $1 million question. I think there are some pros in here. Do you think I'm worried about this? And any of you tax pros in there, are any of you worried about this? Because those are sort of going to be my concluding thoughts about that. Because again, you read an article where they're like going after, high paying customers and how they, they're trying to get us, they're trying to step on our turf. Am I worried about that? Oh, Safety Doc, I think you are the MVP. We should hang out soon. We got to get ourselves some garbage salad. No. God, no. Hell no. Good to see you, Justified Misogamy. That's Mr. J. Yeah, I'm really sweating. I'm so worried about this. Oh my God, I'm going to have to go do something else. TurboTax is going after people who think they can do their taxes on their own. I don't think Atham's worried about it at all, especially with the Cookie Monster there. No. You guys who are in this industry or who want to get in this field, you should be celebrating this. You should be laughing your ass off and you should be celebrating. You know why? Because what did I tell you like half an hour ago or whatever it is? the amount of people that are trying to self-prepare these days and just screwing it up and doing it all wrong is just going, it's exponentially higher than it used to be. They can't do it on their own. And eventually, it's not that they're going to get audited. They're going to do something wrong, and then they're going to get, one of those CP 2000 notices. They'll get a computerized notice from the IRS, and then they'll just be sending me emails like the ones I've been getting all week, or in last week. In May, this is what happens. So I'm not the least bit worried about this. In fact, after thinking about it a little bit more, I think this is fantastic. And to me, it's more proof that those of you who may want to go into this field should strongly consider it, because do you know how many people are going to try to take H&R up on this? Or not H&R, TurboTax. What do I keep saying, H&R? People are going to think that they can self-prepare. Remember, a lot of people think a lot of people think they're smarter than they really are when it comes to tax preparation. They're going to keep doing it wrong. I'm sure TurboTax are into it. They're going to run all kinds of promotions like, business program 50% off if you file by, I don't know, March 15th or some crap. And it's just not going to work. And it's going to be a combination of people not knowing what they're doing. And then I'm not going to say equal, but then another part of it is the program is simply too confusing to use when it comes to a lot of business and rental situations. Again, I consulted with those. It was 8 years ago, but I would be surprised if they've really changed that much, because frankly, they weren't really motivated to, because if you do it wrong based on their program, their offer is that you can talk with those experts I was talking to you about earlier. They can go with them. And, even if they talk with these experts aren't really going to know what to do. And however you slice it, these clients that screw up are ultimately going to end up in either a CPA's office or an EA's office. And most of them, I tell them they shouldn't feel this way, but most of them feel really ashamed when this happened. They're like, yeah, I thought I could use TurboTax and I did it wrong. And so my tactic, and this is just, I'm being sincere when I do this, I'm saying, don't feel bad about this. They don't teach this stuff in schools. Seriously, let me fix it. If I wasn't so interested in not working right now, I could have made a lot of money in the last week and a half, because this is when these notices are going out. So rest assured, I just have to say to Intuit, be my guest, make my day. You market to those people who think they can do it on their own, because most of them are probably going to end up in someone like mine's office. I can hear the candidate yelling in the kitchen. This must be getting intense. But yeah, that was really the whole topic that I wanted to talk about. Basically, it doesn't really matter that TurboTax is losing all these free filers, because they've shifted their strategy, and it's only going to be good things for us in the industry, because frankly, it's just going to open up more doors for us to make more money. I mean, I hate to be crude about it, but that's true. So, all right, well, let me see if we've got some super chats and comments here. I haven't really been keeping up with this because I wanted to get through the article. Oh, we do have some super chats here. We got a few. All right. Well, there's also some interesting comments from DK. My company uses CCH Access now after using Pro Systems for years. They used to offer TurboTax free for employees until ending that deal. Yeah, so CCH is what I use. I use a program called ATX. Pro Systems, I don't know if that's the same as Pro Series, which is also Intuit. I think it is, because if they were offering TurboTax free for employees, I think they probably are using Pro Series. The one good thing I'll say about the Pro Connect Pro Series is that it does integrate pretty well with QuickBooks, if that's what other people are using, since Intuit makes both. So again, I don't like Intuit, but at least in terms of QuickBooks, they do a pretty good job. So I'll give them credit for that. Adam Schmidt, what's up, man? Adam Schmidt for $10. It's been a while since I caught you on. Here, buy a beer. Gotta run. Thanks again for what you do for these guys. Well, cheers. I know you're not here, Adam, but cheers if you watch the replay of this. I really appreciate the super chat. We might be going to that place I was talking about where all those hot single girls were. Not that I'm interested in that, but that Guitars and Cadillacs place, we might be going there tomorrow night. So if I use the money to buy beer, I'll give a cheers to you, Adam. I really appreciate it. One man army 617 for 20. Thank you, man. That's super generous. I know this is late, but I knocked out 105 returns in my first true busy season. I have a question regarding K1s, as I still have some clients that have yet to receive theirs. Are K1s that complicated to prepare? No. In my opinion, they are not. Because it's pretty straightforward if you just input what's from the boxes, and then in the supplemental section that lets you know if basically the qualified business income deduction, is it a specialty service thing? That's really the trickiest part to input. One man army, I do want to say, if any of your clients are waiting on K1s from PTPs, which are publicly traded partnerships, that's when it can get a little bit complex, because a lot of times those have some weird stuff going on in those boxes on the K1s. And oftentimes when it's a PTP, it's several dozen states. So you would think you get a K1 where they show income in like 15 states, for instance. You think, oh, I got to do a return for all of those states. The vast majority of time you don't, because when you have a publicly traded partnership, the income that they're actually making attributed to those states is like $10 here, $3 here, $4 there. So don't freak out if you do get a K1 and it has like income from all those states on it, because chances are the income is way too low for you to actually have to pay attention to it. But in general, I don't feel K1s are really that hard, but you know, I've been doing them for a while, so that's just how I feel. See what? Oh, the Y2A problem. What's up, man? For $2, the New York Rangers will win the Stanley Cup. You know what? That's a distinct possibility. I wasn't able to watch the game last night, but I heard it was really good. They won it. Florida beat them in overtime last night. Florida seems to be really, really good. Obviously, I think the Stars are going to make it to the Stanley Cup final, and I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup. But you know what? You're right. The Rangers could win the Stanley Cup. I'm just not sure they have enough to get by Florida. Yeah. Oh, what's up, Dong is fun. For $5, if you hire a felon, is there a tax credit for the companies that hire them? I heard about that in Texas. Is that true? Huh. I'll have to look that up, because I think there's probably, so Texas doesn't have a state income tax. And so any credits you would get have to be federal, and they would have to apply to everybody in the United States. I don't think there's anything like that on a federal level, but Dung is fun. There may be some credits on a state level that don't have to necessarily do with income, because Texas has no income tax. So it could be related to the corporate tax that they occasionally charge. I think you have to make more than $1 million in revenue or something. So there really could be something related to that. I'll look it up later. I will say Texas is a very, very, very business-friendly state. I mean, very good state. It's not so great where I live in Illinois. California is probably the worst. California and New York are probably the two worst states for operating a business from a tax standpoint. I think Illinois is not far behind, but I'm not going to get into that. Let's see if we have any more. I don't see any more super chats. But I do see some. Oh, so you don't know if they're PTPs, but some may not receive theirs until the end of summer. That's fine, man. I mean, I never actually. So here's the thing. I actually don't mind it when I file extensions for people where they really can't control it because they're waiting for K1s from PTPs and they haven't gotten them yet. To me, that's totally cool, because it means I'm going to be less under the gun and less stress to get their returns done, because it'll be after April 15th. So I never really mind when I do extensions, as long as they can't help it. Now, if somebody's really lazy and they pull the whole TT, I couldn't get my stuff together, That's when it pisses me off a little bit because I don't really respect that. You know, if you can't get your shit to me, that's fine, but you can't try to get me to prepare your return on like April 14th. You know, we don't play that. See what else. There were some other good comments here, and I want to make sure I get them. Christian Genere says, I use the TurboTax offering in Canada. It's an okay software, but the functionality that is available for free is shrinking all the time. I never use their support. Yeah, it is shrinking all the time because they're trying to get you to pay for their software. There's not as much money in them stealing people's data anymore. So I think that it's going to be a struggle to ever use them for free. 1 second, I'm just getting blown up on text. Okay, that's not Clary. I thought Clary would be able to hop in, but he's probably hiking or something. Luffy says, hey, Chad, I just want to thank you for your guidance. I just got an associate's in accounting, and I have a tax internship lined up this winter at a firm called Forbes. You're a godsend. Dang. Well, Luffy, congratulations on the internship and for completing the degree. I don't know if I'm a godsend, but I really appreciate the kind words because ultimately I do this for a few reasons. I do it because it's fun to drink and talk to people. And I don't know. To me, this is just a fun thing to do outside of what I normally do. I think Clary's getting a little sick of doing videos, but for me, it's still a novelty. But Luffy, thanks for the nice message. This is really cool. I liked this, the real Hector. I think people's desire to not think about taxes exceeds their unwillingness to pay us money to do it for them. I think you're right. That's what I'm noticing more and more, especially among those who are new to the self-employment community. A lot of them are just like, I don't even want to deal. So I can certainly understand that. John, this was a good comment. Word of mouth will sink or swim into it. Negative anecdotal experiences will be the major success strategy over the next 2 to 4 years. There's this guy. So when I was messing around with this, doing a little research yesterday, there's this guy who basically has an entire website and YouTube channel and a heavy Twitter or X presence. And his theme is called TurboTax Sucks Ass. And he has this logo of like a red butt with a straw in it, like sucks ass, and then TurboTax on it. I don't know what that dude's deal is. It was really funny, and I kind of wanted to steal his logo there of TurboTax sucking ass, but he seemed like the type that would get really mad if I did that, so I'm not going to. But you guys should Google TurboTax sucks ass if you want to laugh about the reputation that these guys have garnered over the years. One Man Army 617 says, if these clients decide to prepare it themselves, then screw up. Do you think they will know how to amend the returns themselves? No, I really, really, really don't think so. Because some of the mistakes that these guys made in TurboTax, and I'm not trying to be condescending when I say this, they were pretty basic mistakes. And so there were some that I even emailed back when they explained the mistake they made. I wrote them back and I was like, well, here's what it would cost for me to do it. And they're like, oh, I can't do it. And I was a nice enough guy to be like, I think you can amend this just using the program. And I even gave them a little free guidance. I was like, you just have to go in there, amend, form 8949, which is stocks, and just put in the basis. I really tried to guide them and they still couldn't do it. I don't think most people understand how to amend their returns in TurboTax. It is an option. I just don't think they make it easy to do. And I believe they do charge for that. So I think you're right. Homeschool time. This was an interesting comment. Economic conditions deteriorating rapidly. Single mothers flood Facebook and Craigslist asking for help nonstop. Seniors asking for help. Disabled asking for help. Fundraisers asking for help. And it got stale real fast. This is something, what I've kind of noticed? I've been here a couple weeks now in Texas and Chicago. Like we've always had a heavy homeless presence in Chicago. I mean, it's a big city. You're going to see that. At least from what I can see, it's kind of exploded in the past few months. I mean, I think you might be right, homeschool town. I mean, I'm not an economist like Clary is. I don't really follow that stuff, but just the naked eye tells me that like things are not good for a lot of people. I don't know what that means going forward, but I think there's some stuff going on that might not go very well this year. So hoping for the best. So see if we got some more comments. Chris said, I filed an estate trust return last year and would have been interested in online assistance if available, but I ended up filing on you were doing a paper return? That is old school. I don't do estate or trust returns. That's Form 1041. It's not that they're difficult. I just find there's usually drama associated with them. Somebody died and they're fighting over assets, and the heirs feel like they deserve more than they're getting, and it just messes with my ability to help them. So as a policy, I don't do estate or trust returns. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. I don't need the headache. And yeah, homeschool time. Some projects are great for do it yourself. Others, you should hire a qualified person with experience, and there's wisdom knowing the difference. So I'm here at the candidate's house most of the time. Stuff needs to be fixed when you have a house. Do you think I know how to fix this stuff around here? I don't. I'll fully admit it. I'm not proud of it. But I've made friends with some people here who are handyman and others, carpenters. In fact, last Wednesday, so a week ago, I did the taxes. I helped one of them out with their taxes because he was really worried about it. And he tried to pay me, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to pay me, but if you fix that broken mailbox out front, because there's part of her mailbox, the wood rotted, yada yada yada. It's not that it would be that hard to do. I just don't want to do it. But I feel like I have the wisdom to know that I shouldn't be trying to do this. So the guy whose taxes I did, he's going to take care of it, and he's also going to help out with the busted fence in back. I feel like she jokes with me that it's laziness. Like I don't want to learn how to do it. And my argument is I don't need to learn how to do it. I'll just stick to what I do best and we'll barter. You can't tax bartering. They may try to, but you still can't. What else we got? Oh, hey, Mighty Zane. Greetings to you too. Mr. J, which is justified misogyny. How does the candidate feel about being called, quote, the candidate? The reason she doesn't express any, she's never said I don't like being called the candidate, and I think that's because it's because Clary came up with the term, and really the only reason I know her is because of Clary. Like he fixed us up, for lack of better terms. So I think she takes it in good humor, and I never call her the candidate unless I'm doing this stream or if Clary and I are hanging out, and yeah. This is homeschool time. Candidate friend had a breakup. Something like that from what I was gathering. There's some kind of drama going on because I heard some crying and tears, and I can even overhear some stuff going on now in the kitchen. So as soon as I end this show, which is probably going to be pretty soon, I'm going to go in there and see what's up. Let me see what else we got. Zane, when is Elkins going to make his debut on Fresh and Fit for Money? I don't think they would even want me to go on there. I don't know. Are they still having women go on there like late at night, and the women talk about how they have high standards for guys, and then Fresh and Fit kind of yell at them for having standards? Is that still going on? I'm not trying to white knight, but some of that, I don't know. It was cool when they first started doing that, it was pretty funny, but after a while, it just seemed really mean-spirited. I don't know. Let's see what else we got. She's making dinner. Tristan Sedita finally left public after 7 years. God, I do not miss busy season. Working for a construction company and making more money doing their tax in-house and log out at 4 every day. Love your stuff, Chad. Well, thanks, Tristan. I think it's really good that you got out of public because I just think they're putting more and more demands on the people that work there, because with their candidate pool has actually gone down. I've talked about that on previous shows. The bloom is off the rose, but they're not paying their employees anymore. They're not providing more work-life balance. They still think they're the shit. And unfortunately, college kids do still think that that's the gold standard, is working in public accounting, particularly at one of the big four. So that's one of my more informal goals about this channel is to let people know you don't have to work for public or even the big four. You don't have to put yourself through that. But I'm glad you got out of it, and I'm glad you found a good job. Let's see what else. I think we're done with this. Oh no, Atham. What's up, dude? Super sticker. What type of super sticker is it? Hold on, I'll check. Well, I can't see it, but hopefully it's a dog farting hearts, or maybe it was a cat. Yeah, let me just check. I think that's it. You guys, thank you so much for hanging around for this. Take this off. I really appreciate all the super chats and the good comments. At the end of the day, I guess I don't really have any concluding thoughts about TurboTax. I used to tell people I have kind of a love-hate relationship with TurboTax because if somebody comes to me, I have a really high minimum to do a 1040 now because, I don't really have space. So if somebody comes to me and they have like a W-2 and a couple of other, 1099 and interest, investments, dividends, or whatever, what I tell them that I think they should just use TurboTax because it should be very straightforward to just take the information from there. And TurboTax is one of the better programs that you can use. At the same time, I don't think that people who have, it's one thing if you just did a little bit of a side business and you didn't earn a lot of money. If your main source of income is a business and it's going all on a Schedule C, again, you can use TurboTax. You can try to do it with them, but if you screw up, the only experts you're going to talk to are located in, I guess, the Philippines or India. And failing that, you're going to end up talking to a boomer who doesn't give a shit because they're already set with their pension. So just think about this. The experts that work at TurboTax make $25 an hour. I have a good source on that. I don't know. That's not much more than they make at McDonald's now, is it? So I just keep that in mind if you think you're talking to an expert at TurboTax. Otherwise, just keep using them. If it's simple enough, you won't make any errors. If it's more complex and you do make errors, you're just going to end up having to rely on one of us to fix it for you. So proceed at your own risk. All right. The only announcement I have is that some of you were asking about King Crab. He was my bookkeeping guy who started his own bookkeeping firm and pretty much has a lot of wisdom about doing that. I think he and I are going to get to do a stream next week because he said he was free. So that is my plan. So for those who are more into bookkeeping, that's my tentative plan for next week. I don't know the night yet. I have to check and see when the NHL playoffs are going on because if my team, the Stars, are playing that night, I might not be able to do it. They're actually playing tonight at 7:30, which is why I did the stream kind of early. So anyway, enough about sports ball. But guys, again, I really appreciate it, and we should hang out again soon.